Welcome to Lesson 2.1, Mapping Real-World Stress Triggers. In the last module, we explored how stress operates in the brain and body, and how high performers often carry invisible loads that increase pressure, even when they appear calm on the outside. Now, before we begin the second layer of composure training, learning how to spot stress before it hits, because the truth is, you're not stressed because you're weak or emotional. You're stressed because specific triggers in your environment, many of them predictable, are activating your nervous system and changing how you lead. And if you can map those triggers, you can start leading proactively instead of reactively. Many leaders think stress is about volume, too much work, not enough time. But in reality, stress is often structural. It's tied to recurring conditions in your role, like unclear expectations, political dynamics, under-resourced teams, visibility without control, or last-minute pivots from senior leadership. The key insight here is this: your stress isn't caused by work. It's caused by work volume. It's caused by where the work hits your nervous system and how certain situations threaten your sense of competence, control, and credibility. Let's name some real-world, high-frequency triggers in executive and leadership roles. You may recognize some of these in your own day-to-day. Ambiguity with high consequence. This is unclear goals, undefined metrics, and vague ownership. Lack of control with high visibility. Being accountable for outcomes you can't fully influence. Compression timelines. Rushed projects driven by external deadlines. Misalignment across stakeholders. Conflicting priorities that put you in the middle. And team underperformance. This is feeling responsible for other people's gaps. Disagreement in public settings, especially when your credibility is challenged. Invisibility despite ownership. Is doing the work but not getting the credit. These aren't soft problems. They're structural friction points that create real biological stress, whether you acknowledge it or not. One of the biggest mistakes high performers make is misinterpreting their stress responses as a flaw. You feel pressure during stakeholder conflict and think, I should be stronger than this. Or you feel overwhelmed by last-minute pivots and think, I should be more adaptable. But here's the truth. Your reaction isn't weakness, it's a signal. You're reaching, not because of your lack of resilience, but because the situation carries weight, consequence, and meaning. That's not emotional fragility. That's leadership awareness. Let's start mapping your own real-world stress triggers. A helpful method is to categorize them into 3 different buckets. Number 1, contextual triggers. The type of work situation, like last-minute changes, high-stakes meetings, and unclear objectives. Number 2, relational triggers. This is specific interpersonal dynamics, like passive-aggressive peers, high-conflict reports, senior leaders who micromanage. And number 3, role-based triggers. These are structural elements of your position, like being in the middle layer of strategy versus execution, carrying responsibility without authority. And when you break them out this way, you move from everything feels hard to this is a specific pattern I can name and then eventually redesign. Let's walk through a practical example. You're given a cross-functional initiative to lead, but the goals are vague and the stakeholders are misaligned. One leader might feel energized. They see ambiguity as an opportunity. Another leader, maybe you, feels a spike of stress. How do I define success? Who's truly accountable? Will I take the fall if this stalls? Same exact scenario, but very different nervous systems. Your stress response is a function of your wiring, context, and past experiences. It's personal and it's predictable once you start tracking it. Why does this matter? Because stress triggers that go unrecognized create invisible performance costs. You rush decisions you'd normally reflect on. You escalate unnecessarily, thinking it's strategy. You avoid conversations, rationalizing it as timing. You micromanage because delegation feels too risky. And worst of all, You often don't realize you're doing any of this until after the fact. That's why pattern recognition is so important. Awareness gives you options. Pressure isn't going anywhere. In fact, the more successful you become, the more responsibility and scrutiny you'll face. So the goal isn't to eliminate stress, it's to pre-identify where it'll show up so it doesn't blindside you. And from there, you can install strategies to intervene early before the stress response derails your leadership. So let's pause here. I want you to think about your last 2 weeks. Identify 3 specific situations where you felt a noticeable spike in pressure. What was the common thread? Was it the environment, the dynamic, or the ambiguity? Start capturing these. In the next lesson, we'll start differentiating what you can control, what you need to adapt to, and how to stop bleeding performance energy into predictable patterns. In the next lesson, we'll explore the difference between internal and external pressure and how mistaking one for the other can lead to overfunctioning, burnout, or missed strategic opportunities. You'll learn how to reframe pressure not as something to survive, but something to design around. I'll see you in lesson 2.2.